my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some Rustic Farmhouse Valentine Crafts. This is part one of a two-part video, but let's get started with project number one. For this project, I made a ton of pom-poms using this yarn from Dollar Tree. All three colors came from Dollar Tree, and this pom-pom maker as well that comes from Dollar Tree. Two smaller ones come in a pack, and then one big one comes by itself, and I'm using kind of the two-pack one, the medium size or the larger size of the two. If you've not ever done a pom-pom with these, let me show you how easy it is to do. It opens up just like this, and then both sides are the same. You're going to take your yarn and wrap it around this little rainbow shape, and you're going to keep wrapping until you get it as thick as you want. I usually try not to go too far past this middle section right here. I'll go down through it a little bit, but you can see here I'm extending a little bit past it, but not bad. And then once you do that, squish it in there. It'll fit nice and firm if you want them really full, and then cut off the excess. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side and cut that off. All right, and then you want a long piece of yarn, and see the slit on either side here? Hold that down, and you're going to take your scissors and kind of cut between the yarn here through that slit area, if that's understandable. Make sure you hold this down once you cut it, because otherwise it's going to open and all your pieces of yarn are going to flop out. So this is where it takes, a little bit of persistence to hold it down, and you're going to cut through the other side, cut between that slat, up and over to the other slat. And there's that little well in the center that'll help you kind of cut through that yarn. Then you're going to take your long piece of yarn, you're going to wrap it between the slats there. See that? All the way around between the other two slats. And then I hold that pom-pom maker in my hand and the two-piece yarn, and I just pull it. And you'll feel that yarn kind of pop through. And then you know it's done. And then I tie a couple of knots really tight down so that I know the knots are getting way down inside that slat there. And then you just open it up, pull it apart like that, and now you've got a pom-pom, and then you just put it back together like that to do your next pom-pom. Okay, now I was able to get 9 pom-poms out of each skein of yarn from Dollar Tree. If you wrap them looser, you should be able to get 10 or 11, because I actually wanted 11 pom-poms of each color. Now, I went to Dollar Tree. I'm having to make my own frame, because the week before I went and they had 10,000 heart wreath frames, and then the next week I go and not a one. So I am making my own heart frame here. All right, so made a heart, and then I'm just kind of taking that center portion, I twisted the center together, and I'm pulling it up, and now I'm taking another piece of wire, and I'm wrapping it around that whole middle section. And then once I wrap it around, I'll of course come up and over onto the single little heart on that side. And I did it in 2 pieces. I had one long piece of wire, but it was too hard to wrap around, so I cut it into 2 pieces, and I'll join them later. Now I'm wrapping the secondary wire around because, one, it's going to make this wire heart be a little more stable, I think, because I'm using 18 gauge wire, and 2, by wrapping it around, it kind of creates that bubble around it, I guess you could say, and it gives me a lot more space to glue to, and it actually worked fine. I don't miss the heart wreath frame from Dollar Tree, so poo-poo on you. Okay, here's what my heart looks like. As you can see, I've got one side higher than the other. I meant to do that, and yes, if you need to sit down for a minute and take a breath, I'm actually pulling out my hot glue gun. As we all know, I don't do it very often. Now, as far as the colors go, I'm going to do one kind of part way here, wrap the other color here, and the other one around. So basically what I did, you can see I'm kind of just gluing. I'm starting down the center, gluing the pom-pom to that middle piece, and then I'll take the 2 longer strands of yarn. I didn't cut them off. I'll tie 3 little knots, and then I'll cut off the excess. Add a little more hot glue where I want it to go. Pull over my little silicone baking mat first, and then put my pom-pom up to that wire, making sure I've got the long tails spread apart so that I can bring them up and over the wire and tie 3 little knots, and then cut it off. And then I'll add a little more hot glue and kind of squish the pom-pom around the wire so you don't see that wire on the back side. And I just kind of continue that process all the way around as far, as the colors I want to take it before I start a new color. So I put the white one in here first so that I could see if that's how I want it to look. If the area I want it's great. Just for my mind's eye, making sure that side's going to look right. But now I'm in doing some of the gray pom-poms. I think it was actually easier on this wireframe than the Dollar Tree one because those are wider and this was thinner, so I don't, I can just, one pom-pom will cover the wire of the heart versus, you'd probably have to do double all the way around that other one and make it more, you'd probably have to do a lot more pom-poms, I want to say, to cover that other one. I've got the gray all on. Now I'm bringing in it's more of a cream color and tying those on. Gluing and going. We're just about done with this. I noticed when I got all these pom-poms on, where I made one side of the heart taller and the other side shorter, you really don't see that a lot. So I kind of had to reshape my pom-pom because it didn't look as pronounced as I wanted it to. So, you might not want to mess with that. And I'm using this ribbon from Dollar Tree, Valentine ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and glue it in here. Now, you could leave it how you want, and I'm squishing it right in between the pom-poms so it gets right down in there and it stays. But I don't want that ribbon to show. So I'm going to take the tiny pom-pom maker and off camera make a tiny little pom-pom right here. I've got it made, and I'm just going to glue it right in there and smush it in, and it covers the knot of that ribbon there, and plus it'll help secure it in there. And now I'm bringing in some ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I just made a bow with some long tails. I needed a place to glue that, so I just got some little wood here, and I glued it in the middle of the pom-poms. Added some hot glue on top, and that gave me a section where I can glue nice and stable and secure that middle of that bow. Then I'm going to cut my tails to the length I want it, and then that makes this project complete. Let's move right on into project number 2. For this project, I'm using this fabric I got from Hobby Lobby. It's supposed to look wrinkled like that, and I just freehanded a heart. All right, just freehand form. I'm going to cut 2 pieces for the heart, 2. And then off camera, y'all know me, I did cut 2 pieces of batting. Batting is totally optional. All right, now I printed this onto some fabric using my printer. I'm going to show you really quick how I did it. I've got a piece of typing paper and some spray adhesive here. I'm going to spray the typing paper, nice light coat, and then I'm going to lay down my muslin material, and I'm going to smooth it on there really good. It's really nice and easy, and this works inkjet or laser printer, although I have been told that laser printer, it might print out a little lighter. Now, when you're cutting, this is very small, but if there's any exposed area of that sticky paper, cut that off because you don't want that sticking to your printer rollers and, making a mess. So cut off any excess fabric and then run it through your printer, whichever way it goes, and print on it. I use just normal printing. I don't set anything special. When it's done, you can pull it off. There's no sticky on the back of the fabric or anything. It's nice and easy to do. So now what I'm doing is I cut it to the size I want, and I'm just pulling off some strings here to kind of tatter around the edges. I am going to go ahead and cut a piece of batting for behind it to kind of lift it up a little bit. Again, optional. If you're a gluer, I'm going to glue mine anyway, and you're using batting, go ahead and glue batting to each piece of the heart. You don't want to just lay it in there. You want it glued so that when you go to stuff your heart, your batting doesn't bunch up inside. If you're not using batting, don't worry about it. All right, and if you're a gluer, go around the edge between your 2 pieces with some glue. Leave a little bit of opening for stuffing, and then put your 2 pieces together. All right, and then you can go ahead and glue your top portion on whether or not you use batting. If you're a sewer, I'm going to sew this top portion onto the top layer of my heart first. Then I'll put it together and then sew around the edges, leaving an opening for stuffing. All right, and then everything we're making today, I'm making it all match, and it's going to be the same with kind of the part 2 video. This is all like an ensemble that should match together very nicely. You guys know how I like to do that. So here I'm just kind of sewing on that little tag first. And then I do like a double sew around it. And when I do that, I don't try to make the border, the sewing look pretty or anything like that. I make it look all haphazard, that kind of thing. And then I'm coming around, of course, and then sewing my heart together. I probably got about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I go in a lot further with the seam allowance when I use batting so that batting will the fabric and the batting will kind of stick up around the edges, and you see that so it looks like you cut up a quilt. All right, and then go ahead and stuff your little pillow. And this is a little pillow. I'll show you here in a minute kind of what size it is. Once you're done stuffing, you can glue or sew it together. All right, here's what it looks like all stuffed. Here, see, it's not about the size of 8.5, 11 piece of paper. All right, so don't freak out when I take some watered down black paint and I add some splatters. Also, I've got this little butterfly. It came off this little garland. I picked this up at like, oh my gosh, Joann's or Michael's probably 5 years ago. And I like to pull them apart and use it. And as I said, I'm splattering my pillow, splattered the butterfly a little bit because this is just a little tiny and it's meant to maybe go on a tier tray or in an ensemble, not to really lean against, you know. So I don't mind doing a little splattering. Now I've just got about a 1-inch ripped strip of fabric. This is some floral trim. You can pick this up at Joann's or Michael's, anything like that. I thought that would be pretty. I went to, like, as you can see here, glue down my bow first. I'm cutting off my tails here a little bit, make them a little shorter, and then I kind of, you know, glue them into position on the pillow. We're going to wrinkle and crinkle them a little bit. And then I was like, I think I want this underneath. So I've got about a minute working time on the glue. So I pull it off and I glue the floral trim in first and then re-glue my bow back on. This is so simple, but I love how it turns out. And then I was going to just glue our little butterfly on, but I decided to take a cute little safety pin and pin it on in the middle. I think that just makes it a lot cuter. And once I do that, that makes this project complete. We'll take a look at the results of all our projects today at the end of the video. I love this. What do you think? All right, it's time for project number 3. For this project, I'm using these wool balls, this garland I picked up Hobby Lobby at Christmas time. I got it half off. All right, and then this kind of corduroy fabric I also picked up at Hobby Lobby. Again, like I said, all the colors match. And a little bit of this batting. You can pick this up in a bag at like Walmart. Joann sells it by the yard. And I just free-formed a heart. I was going to do 6 hearts, but then decided I want to do 7, an odd number. You want 2 pieces for each heart, so you end up actually cutting out 14 hearts. And then I have a heart that's about 1 inch smaller in diameter, and you're going to want to cut out 7 of those in your batting. All right, I'll cut that off camera. So here we are. I've got 2 pieces of fabric for my heart. Now we need a little loop in the center. I'm using this. I picked up Hobby Lobby at Christmas. I think it's like, here it is, $3.99. You get it half off. I'm going to use the red, of course, wanting all my colors to match. I've already glued it into a loop. Okay, and then I'm using this cute little cream and red plaid trim, again from Hobby Lobby. I've already got it tied into a bow. And then a little wooden heart here. These are from craftingwithkimber.com. They come in a set of 12 little mini hearts. I'm not going to paint it or anything. I like the color of it. It goes fine. What you'll do, I was just going to use this batting, and I was going to cut 2, but it was too thick. So I used that batting and then this batting and did it together. So the top is cotton batting. All right, like we used in the pillow we just did. And then the bottom is like whatever batting that is. But it's just however thick you want it. So I'm going to glue down the loop in the center first. And then glue down this batting. You could try to stuff it with regular batting, but it was a little bit hard. So I'd rather just cut this batting so it's easier to do. So go ahead and glue all your batting onto your bottom piece. And then add some glue around the perimeter of your heart all the way around. Make sure you glue up onto your little hanger there, and then put your heart together. Now, when I'm putting my heart together, I'm making sure I kind of really indent around that batting to make it look nice and puffy, which is another reason I chose this batting versus regular like pillow stuffing. See, it's got that nice poofy look. All right, and then I'm going to, if you want to, you can sew around it with a sewing machine, but I'm going to use some crochet thread and a needle here. You can pick up those spools of crochet thread at Walmart for a few dollars. And then what I'm going to do is just add some straight stitches. So I'm going to pull apart the heart right near the loop, right? And I'm going to put my needle right in between there. This is to kind of hide your ends. And I'm going to come through the front. I'm going to pull it almost all the way out. Just leave a little, inch or so there. And then go ahead and make your stitch. Now, when you make your first stitch, grab that end so it doesn't pull out, because as you noticed, I didn't put a knot in it. No need to. And then make another little stitch. I held that end again for one more stitch. And then I just made cute little stitches all the way around. This is totally optional. I just thought it gave it a little something else, a little more decoration. Okay? And so all the way around. When I tried to kind of do it like this, sometimes the single stitches too, it got kind of hard to pull through that glue, so I had to grab pliers to pull it all the way through. But anyway, finish it all the way around, and especially when you come through and you're stitching through that little hanger there, it gets kind of hard. You might have to grab some pliers. Now to hide see here, I'm having to grab my pliers to pull it through. kind of thick through there. Now to hide this, I'm pulling it all the way through to the back to hide my end. Okay, this is done. This is how cute it looks. I'm going to come back through on the back side through that back layer of fabric only, up through the center, just like where we started. Pull it all the way up and then cut off the excess. You can cut the other one a little bit shorter, the other tail. Okay, and then just glue it down. Done. We didn't have to make any knots, tie it off, nothing. That sucker's done. And then we go ahead and glue down our little bow here right up in the center. And then I'm going to add the cute little wooden heart here. Now you could add a little button here. I think would look really cute if you don't want to run out and buy some hearts. And when you're done, you have 7 matching hearts. Perfect. Now I'm going to use some of this twine from Dollar Tree and a long needle. One, because it has a larger eye hole to fit the twine through. It's a doll needle. And 2, because I want a longer needle to be able to pull my little felted wool balls through. If you didn't want to use those, you could use beads. These are bead garlands from Dollar Tree. A lot of time, or Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby. You can get them 40% off. Or these beads from Dollar Tree. You just have to use more. Not a big deal. Now what I'm going to do first is I've measured out 8 inches of this twine. I'm going to tie a little knot. 8 inches and then tie a knot, and then I'm going to start running my felted wool balls onto the thread. I'm going to do 3 and then hang a heart, 3 and then hang a heart. I'm just going to get them on first and then I'll space everything. And then 3 more felted wool balls. See how it's nice to have that long needle to pull through? And a thicker needle. It's easy, goes through these felt wool balls really nice. And then add another heart, and then I'm going to do this process all the way down till I come to about the last 8 inches, and we'll tie a knot. Now between my felt wool balls, I did about a 1/4 inch, and in between the felt wool balls and where the heart hangs, I did about 1.5 inches space. Now something I forgot to say, when I made my loops on my heart, I made it so that it was just long enough for the heart to hang freely, but not too long that the felt wool balls, or even if you use beads, could go through the hanger of that heart. So kind of pay attention to that, if that makes any sense. All right, so I'm going to get my last 3 felt wool balls on here. I'll cut off any excess string that I have and leave just enough, about 8 inches, to make another little loop here and tie it off. And then that makes this garland complete. What do you think? Let's move on to our last project, number 4. I gave you a bunch of kind of fabric things, so let's do something wood. So this is a heart that I cut from my wood laser machine. You can use any heart you want. These are slat boards from Dollar Tree. I have a bunch here, but I think I only end up using like 3, maybe 4. They're the 18-inch long ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spell out the word love. So I'm going to cut, a couple pieces. My tallness of my word is 7 inches, if that makes sense. So the main part of the L is 7 inches. All right, then I'm going to use the heart for an O, and then I'm going to cut 2 pieces to make a V. All right, and then I'm going to cut enough pieces to make an E. So yeah, when I'm done, I think I used 3, maybe like I said, 4 boards. All right. And like I said, the tallness of it is 7 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut everything off camera so it's ready to go. I'm just going to use Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water for all of it. Okay, you can see I've got some tumbling tower blocks. I'll show those in a minute. But for my heart, what I wanted to do, I am going to use the Waverly Antique Wax, but I wanted to use a little bit of fun scrapbook paper on top. So I traced the heart around it, and now I'm coming in about a 1/4 inch and I'm redrawing a new perimeter, and I'm going to cut that out to fit the front of the heart. So that way that's in the center, and then any wood exposed, you'll see that Waverly Antique Wax around the edges, so it matches in it nicely. So here's my little heart. You can see that little bit. And then this is just a little piece I cut out of some scrapbook paper. Well, I want it to come across like the front of the heart here and make it look cute, like love documented. All right. And so I'm just kind of going to cut it off here where it's going to come at the edge of the scrapbook paper heart. And then I'll show you what it's going to look like laid on there. I just think it looks really cute. I like how it looks. It just gave it a little something. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue my hearts together. The one on the back is smaller, but that's okay. All right, because it was like 2 sizes. I had them for a project a long time ago, but you're not going to see that. So here are my pieces. I'm putting them together. Now my V, I didn't bother making angle cuts because I think it just gives it a little bit more of a rustic look. I just kept all my cuts nice and straight. And as you can see, like the L is laying on the V is laying on the E because that gives it more stability. And I know the top piece is shorter because I wanted to line up with the bottom piece on the E, and since the V is taking up a little bit of space, understand, that top part of the E board is a little bit shorter. Hopefully that was all understandable. So here we are, just staining everything, and then outside I will go ahead and just distress it, sand it all off. Now the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree are going to be to help stability on the back of my L and E. The V is not really going to touch the bottom because it comes to a point. My L and E, that bottom link, that's going to be my, you know, my level across the bottom, and then the tumbling tower blocks on the back side to help hold it in place. You'll see how it all looks at the end because my explaining isn't doing justice. Now, as you can see, I am sewing my paper. I'm just using a regular, this machine, my old machine used to take like a size 10 needle. I'm sewing it here with a size 14 needle. Just regular stitches, not doing anything fancy, just sewing on this paper like it's regular fabric. So it depends on your machine. You want to play with the needles. If you play with it and sew it on paper and the needles, the holes are too big, you might want to go to a smaller needle. Okay, once that's sewn, I'm going to set it aside. Here's all my pieces. I've sanded and distressed them. I've got them laying on a ruler at the bottom to make sure I keep the bottom edge level all the way across, and I'm just going to use Fabri-Tac glue. It's going to hold wonderful because then I'm going to come in with these tiny little nails for a little bit of extra added fun, but it's also going to help hold the boards together as well. I'm marking here on my V where that L is going to sit, and then of course add my glue, and then I've got glue on the back of there and laying it together, marking my V here where it's going to sit on the E and on the first half of the V, adding my glue. That way it lays together, and then I'm going to start gluing my E down. I've got another slat board down there so that it takes up the space when I add my E because, you know, I don't want it to fall forward. I want it to glue good, if that makes sense. I'm just making sure everything's nice and level. All right, and then I'm marking where my heart's going to go. Both sides, and we'll get that glued in. This actually took not much time at all, and I think it's really cute. It's really rustic. I love it, and I think it makes a statement, and it matches with all the other things I've did. Again, we've got one big ensemble with both of these videos coming out. So here are my, you know, tumbling tower blocks. I'm gluing 2 together for each back piece, and then I will show you, of course, near the end where I'm going to place them. All right, now I'm hammering in my little nails again for design factor, but as well as stability, especially where, like at the top of the V where it's on the E, it's only connected in that one little spot. But by the time we get the little tumbling tower blocks on the back side, everything, nothing's going to move. Everything is really stable. So I'm just kind of adding a couple of nails, you know, to each piece that I want to make it look fun. And then I'm taking the open end of my scissor blades. I'm scraping along the edges of our paper to give it a little bit of rustic fun. I've already kind of scraped along that little documented part there, and then I'm going to glue it down onto my heart. And then we'll go ahead and add some nails. I add some nails right through the paper because I think that's cute, of course. Yeah, I love how this turned out. And you don't have to add any scrapbook paper on your heart. You could just paint it red or pink because that's what I was going to do in the first place. And then, of course, to finish it, I'm going to come in with some black paint mixed with water, add some splatters, kind of ground everything together. I think that makes it look fun, gives it a little bit more of a rustic look. And then once that's dry, here's my tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to go ahead and add the glue to all of them so that they're ready. And I can put it all together in one spot. And then I'm going to lift up my piece here, and then I'm going to just glue right on the 2 places on the L and the 2 places on the E, and just push them all together. Push those to the back of the word, and then everything will sit up nice and stable. And then that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all of the projects today. I know we had 4, right? That kind of makes it fun, but I have more projects coming. We'll discuss that in a minute. Give this video a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know which project was your favorite. And if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. The notification bell is important so you don't miss another project from me. Now, let me tell you why the notification bell is important. For this year, I thought I would bring a little bit more fun to you guys. You know I always post every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. But what I want to do is once or twice a month, I want to post another video for you on a Wednesday. Now, at this point, I don't know which Wednesday. It could be the first Wednesday, second Wednesday, third Wednesday, fourth Wednesday. I don't know, but I'm going to try and post 1 or 2 times extra a month on a Wednesday, usual time at 8 a.m. So that's why it's important you have that notification bell on, whether you are a current subscriber or a new subscriber, so you don't miss that extra video. Now, I will tell you this coming Wednesday, 8 a.m., that video will be here. I can tell you that day I am posting because it's part 2 of this particular video. Another video full of fun rustic farmhouse Valentine crafts that you don't want to miss. Okay? So with all of that said, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. We are all unique pieces of a puzzle called life, and just like a puzzle, each of our lives are put together one piece at a time until the full image is beautifully revealed. By the grace of God, He has created each piece to fit perfectly into the next. In life, we will encounter challenges and obstacles, just like puzzle pieces that seem difficult to place, but as we fully trust in God's plan, we'll see that He has a perfect picture already designed for us. Puzzles require persistence and patience. Each piece plays a crucial role in forming the complexity of the image, and it requires a great and mighty God to see the picture as a whole in order to know how it must all come together. Though each puzzle of life is different in imagery, the fundamental process of how the overall picture is achieved remains the same, because, as we know, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He will always start a puzzle by laying down His word as a firm foundation, also known as the puzzle mat, so that as He pulls out all the pieces one by one and lays them firmly down, they will stay in place and remain connected to Him. Next, He'll work on completing the border of the puzzle. This border represents how He will always surround us with His strength, stability, and truth. He will never leave us, He will never forsake us, and we will have everything we need as long as our faith remains unwavering. Now, once this border is complete, God will then start distributing the puzzle pieces. And here's where each puzzle of life varies, but the concept remains the same. He is able to look at each piece from different angles. He twists them and turns them, and at just the right moment, He lays them into the perfect landscape. All the pieces are connected with one another, and without God, we just don't have the complete understanding of how they must interlock exactly right. If we don't allow God to be in control of how each piece fits, we may impede the progress of His next piece, and by doing so, mess up the goals that He has for us. He alone has meticulously formed our puzzles from beginning to end. He knows each piece represents a contributing factor to the next piece, and then to the next piece, and so on to form the overall picture. So as we trust in His plan for our lives, His bigger picture for us will become clear. And just like when the image of a puzzle becomes evident when we see more pieces fall into place, we must continue to rely on what God has for us to fully see His view. He alone knows that He only has plans to prosper us and never harm us. He has plans to give us a hope and to give us a future. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.